I'm William Shatner. I've done a lot of things in my career, but this takes the cake. This is so cool. You, Joseph, today, it's all about you. You won the internet. Congratulations. It's exciting. It makes me want to celebrate. Makes me want to get up out of this chair. Makes me want to sing. Makes me want to dance. Makes me want to shout. Kick my heels up. Throw my hands up. Toss my head back. No, really, people should be shouting your name in the street.
Come on now. Sing
that song.
Joseph,
Sing it out loud.
Joseph.
I want to celebrate. Put it up in lights. See, no one else deserves to be celebrated like you because you are the best.
Hi, this is Penn. Penn Jillette, Penn and Teller. Big guy does magic, smaller guy next to me. He does magic too. He doesn't talk that much. I want to talk about Joseph Jaffe is not famous. And Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Joseph Jaffe is wicked not famous. Joseph Jaffe is superlatively not famous, and for good and sufficient reason. I mean, maybe his guests are famous. Maybe his guests are famous. He gets some famous people on his guests, but Joseph Jaffe himself is not famous. That's the important part. You can have famous guests and still not be famous. And if you want an example of that, well, Joseph Jaffe would be a really good example. Teller would do a better job at a talk show, and Teller doesn't talk, which you'd think would be one of the major qualification of being on a talk show and not being famous. What's that, Teller? Oh, yeah. Teller says, Joseph Jaffe, not famous. Love you.
When it comes to chicken, I'm your guy.
Blinking.
I'll have what Joseph has.
Look, somebody's talking about you.
This is what we call the voice of God.
Popping.
Everybody just gets to focus on you.
Grab me.
Probably not the best thing for an introvert.
I'm asking for you.
Well, I like a good chicken sandwich.
Touch me. Hi, David. Comment.
Oh my God.
Like.
You're actually an identical twin.
Push.
Maybe I'll just ask Julie to talk about what it is to be
No.
an identical twin.
Pick me up.
No, you didn't.
Shouting.
Surprise! Jeremiah, just hang on a second. I just got a text.
There's an edit for your new opening, Joseph.
I feel really honored to have been here, man.
By the way, you've done a masterful job. Seriously.
And it was such a joy.
Thanks, Joseph. It's an honor.
Good on you. This was a pleasure.
I mean, you are the prime example of how to pivot in this new environment.
I wish everybody gets an opportunity to interact with Joseph Jaffe.
Who needs Cameo when I've got my own personal Cameo? Let me tell you, I am excited. Can you see how excited I am? I am excited because forget about fame, forget about fortune. This is fortitude that I have the Alexandra Damsker in the house, in the studio with me. She is going to debunk, she is going to debrief, she is going to demystify, she's going to decrypt crypto that is in the crapto. But I got to tell you, honestly, there are a few people that I have heard that I can say, oh my God, this human being is gifted and talented and wise beyond all years, her years, my years, all of our years. Seriously, besides the fact that I'm just building her up just a little tad, I have been listening, I have been lurking, I have been learning at her clubhouse rooms where just everything that comes out of her mouth is gold, Jerry, gold, I tell you. Well, she's going to be on the show shortly, and it's actually, in all seriousness, a show that I'm really looking forward to because I feel like we really need smart, intelligent people with smart, intelligent thoughts, thought leadership, wisdom to be able to benchmark and contextualize where we are right now, where we've come from, and more importantly, where we're going. So she'll be on the show shortly, but I do want to talk a little bit about I'm so proud of the fact that here we are with everything going on, that Alpha Collective, the entry level, the free mint is minted out. And, these days it's even hard to move a free mint, but it's an amazing, amazing gift to be able to see a floor, no matter how small the floor is, and to see movement in a secondary market. More importantly, and I hope it stays as low as possible, because we want to make sure that we bring in as many people as possible. We talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, and it's just so important to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get access. So if you do want to find out more, and if you do want to buy, and you can visit discord.gg/Alpha Collective, Alpha Collective's Discord server. You can find out more at alphacollective.xyz, and you can actually buy into this collection at pretty much under $5. And as I said, I hope it really stays at this level for as long as possible, where people can gain access to our incredible Alpha Talk speakers. Ryan Carson, Baratundi Thurston, Pepsi's CMO, Todd Kaplan, Sandy Carter, it's Kevin Degods, it's Brian Fanzo. It's amazing to see David Meerman Scott. I will stop now. We might even have a new member of our Alpha Talk team, but more on that later. Another thing as well, with all the crypto in the crapto, I'm about to relaunch the Jaffe coin, my creator coin, my own cryptocurrency. Having survived barely Rally.io, I'm now about to relaunch this coin on Solana. And I have to tell you that people have asked me, what is my strategy? And my response has been, I'll let you know when I figure it out. But in all seriousness, I absolutely do have a three-pronged approach to being able to build out the Jaffe economy, the Jaffe ecosystem, and do it in a way that I think, and I hope, as always, through my entire career, I can be a use case. I can lead the way. There's so many people that just talk, but how many people actually attempt to walk their talk, even if they fail, even if they make mistakes? And so for me, it's a very, very simple three-pronged approach. One is hold the coin, and in exchange for holding the coin, various roles, various utility will be delivered. Number two is redeem the coin, be able to give the coin or send the coin back to me in exchange for maybe a signed copy of the book, maybe a walk-on role on the show, maybe lunch or dinner. Maybe I'll even fly to you wherever you are in the world and break bread with you. And then the third one, and I actually think 2023 will be the year of the POAP, the proof of attendance protocol, where we show up, we step up, and when we do, we get a digital stub, a ticket stub, an NFT that we will be able to use, redeem, exchange, collect, even upgrade with other people. So something to come in the future. And of course, everything that I'm saying today, I'm hoping, and I really, really invite Alexandra's point of view. In fact, this soliloquy is actually delivered and created in her homage, and in her honor. And it's called, and I hope, even if it comes to it, I want the debate and the pushback, if there is any. But I got to tell you, I decided to call this "There's More to Web3 Than Crypto." Now, I've got to tell you, I believe this. I've always believed it. I've always believed that when you talk about Web3, you talk about NFTs, you talk about the metaverse, you talk about creator coins, you talk about DAOs, the blockchain itself. How much of this is endemic to and inextricably connected to crypto? So can we, in fact, deliver community without crypto? Can we, in fact, create collectibles without crypto? I mean, we know part of the answer is yes, because you can buy with fiat, with a credit card. But I actually thought, like, maybe I would call this "Crypto is in the Crapto." Maybe I would even call this soliloquy something that I've heard a lot of and about lately, which is that crypto is the spam of Web3. I'm out there selling Alpha Collective. I'm out there talking to people about Web3. And I'm finding that I'm being asked to apologize for crypto. I'm being asked to be able to say, that crypto, they're, the derelict of the family. We'll just put them off to the side. But I feel if I do that, if I pander to them, if I come out and actually say crypto is the spam of Web3, maybe I'm doing them, myself, the industry a disservice as a pioneer, as someone who maybe even myself by my own standards doesn't quite understand the full length, breadth, depth, magnitude, potential, and power of cryptocurrency as opposed to fiat currency. So yes, there is more to Web3 than crypto, but at the same time, I feel that if we are marginalizing or minimalizing cryptocurrency, the almighty Bitcoin, we probably do it a disservice. We probably do ourselves a disservice. And before we do that prematurely, maybe, just maybe, it pays us to be educated, to be informed, to ask the right questions, to suspend disbelief, to have faith, not to be led astray, not to be euphorically, blindly led down a dark and an unknown path, but instead to go back to that idea of being a true adventurer, a pioneer, discovering and exploring a better life and a better world. And now to either debunk or agree or build on that, someone who I trust, I respect, even though we've never met before, but because her voice is the window to her soul, to her heart. And that's what I believe. Your voice is your authenticator. Alexandra Damsker is a corporate and securities lawyer, speaker, and podcaster. She runs the token agnostic blockchain education podcast, Crypto Immersion, and is chief legal officer of Minxie, a creator-focused Web3 platform, formerly with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. So I think she might know a thing or two about what's happening and what isn't and what's coming down the pike and the how we test and everything else, any of the questions you might have. And international firm Mayer Brown. She's also a twice founder with one exit. She's currently completing a publisher-requested book on DeFi, decentralized finance, which will be out in 2023. And you can bet when it's out, she will be welcome back on the show. Alexandra has been in the blockchain space since 2016. Yes, some of you maybe think that the blockchain was invented in 2019. Turns out it wasn't. And serves as legal operations and strategic advisor to a number of companies and high net worth individuals. Speaking engagements include Web Summit, NASDAQ, and the Association of Independent Music Producers. Let's welcome her onto the show. Alexandra, welcome to the show.
Hi, that was quite an introduction.
That's what people say.
Thank you very much. It was very kind of you. I want to assure everyone I am also not famous. So I feel an incredible kinship with you because we are two completely non-famous people discussing something for the delectation of the public. Very happy to do so.
Yes, and as I said to you when you said to me, I'm not famous, I said, but you will be. You will be. These are fighting words. I'm a prophet. I'm a prophet. I don't know what the hell's going to happen with crypto, but I do know that you will be famous.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Remind me to pay my mom as quickly as possible because I'm sure she paid you.
Yes, and my mom pays me too as well. Now, Alexandra, one of the things we like to do on the show before we get into the meat and the potatoes and the business side is do a little fun segment that we call Fun Facts, because we've heard the bio. The bio is impressive, very, very impressive. But really, what we need to know about you is what makes you tick. What is the deep, dark, and dirty secrets that no one knows about you? And so we found out that, in fact, you don't have a high school diploma. And yet, in the world of book smarts versus street smarts, it turns out that you are certainly street smart. So tell us about the fact that you don't have a high school diploma. What happened next? Where did you go from there? How did you find coping, succeeding in a world that actually requires us to produce the diplomas, the certificates, the doctorates, the pieces of paper, as opposed to actually our substance and what we're capable of?
So, I mean, I am a lawyer, so I do have a college degree and a law degree. So it's not that I'm without any of the proper paper, but I never actually got my high school diploma. My mom moved a lot when we were young, and she was moving again. I was already young for my class, and she wanted to move again my senior year of high school. And I said, oh, hell no, I'm not moving somewhere else. So I had a month to apply to college and take the SATs, and I was like, either college or the streets. I was like, either one is fine. But I got into the colleges I applied to, which were like state schools, and I picked the one farthest away. That's where I went. I was supposed to do work to finish my high school diploma, but I tested out of the classes that were required for my high school degree, and they wouldn't accept any substitutes. And then I figured, I'm already here. Who's going to know? I mean, if I tell people now, everybody knows, but that's really what I did. I just was like, you want me to take these classes that I can't take because I tested out of them. So screw you, high school. I'm already in college. And I just never went, I never checked with them. I never went back. I didn't do anything. I don't have a high school graduation date. I don't have high school graduation photos. I don't have any of that stuff because I never graduated, but my college didn't care. Please don't take back my degrees, people. But they didn't care. At a certain point, they're like, we don't look at high school. We only look at high school when you're entering. And then afterwards, they didn't care. So
well, it's so funny because it is a little bit of a gate. I mean, when I became an adjunct professor, I teach at Western Connecticut State University. I teach at NYU. The one thing that they required, and it was really hard for me, was a master's. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a post-grad degree. I have written 5 books. In fact, I write the books that many of the other professors might be teaching from. And yet I was almost like I was locked out. I was locked out. I was on the other side of the gate. And it became really hard to demonstrate the will, the passion, the capability, the skill set. But eventually I prevailed, and maybe there's some good news there, which is there's always a will and a way forward, even without a piece of paper, whether that's, kind of, in your case, it seemed like more of just a formality.
Yeah. I mean, I never really thought about the qualifications and what they meant. I really just kind of coasted and just wanted to get through school. I was not somebody who loved school. My sister did, but I did not. And my kids do, but I, again, did not. But I'm glad that they do, that you get more out of it. I would have at least wanted to know that it teaches you how to negotiate with bureaucracy, but I didn't know that right at the time. Didn't care about school, missed it all the time. I skipped class all the time. And then I didn't care about, school much. I mean, when I was interested in the topics, it was wonderful, but for the most part, I was just something to get through. And, it's what's really interesting now is how much people are judged on the schools that they go to without any consideration for why they went, how they went. Like I'm an immigrant kid. We didn't have like legacy schools to go to or whatever. We didn't have like anything like, everything's lined up for you. Here's the career you're going to have if you don't make it through college. Here's a career you have if you do. Here's how you do it. Let me get you, classes when you're little and make sure that, you have everything that you need for college, which is now pretty much how kids are raised. And at the time, we didn't do any of that stuff. My mom, we were not wealthy at all. And I, it's funny that I think of all the steps that go before the application that are just parenting decisions that have to be made to get kids into these positions where suddenly everything is like this kid has achieved something, but really it's not the kid as much as the parents. Like it says more in college. I think it says so much more about your background than it does about your character or your own ability for the most part, right? Obviously there are exceptions everywhere, but for the most part, I am not impressed by somebody who went to an Ivy League college or who went to a community college, right? Because where you go to school is so much dictated by what your parents have been doing for the 18 years previously. And I didn't have that support or knowledge or anything. I was only 16 when I went, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, yay, I can drive. That was really my big thing when I went to college.
So here's where it gets interesting, because one is, which degree would you get? What schooling or education would you need to be proficient in Web3, in blockchain, in crypto, etc.? And then the other part of it completely unrelated to the first part, is what role do you think blockchain is going to play in terms of the future of education? And even the simple example that is often used is the fact that your degree, your certificate now, that diploma you never got, is now sitting on chain and in a wallet, and can be used and can be verified and validated and maybe even updated based on additional studies and education, and can play a different role in terms of now how we qualify and how we present ourselves moving forward.
So that's not really the role that I think blockchain is going to have. For me, every technology presents opportunities, right? It's loss for some of the people who are having attrition, and gain for those people who can adapt to the new technology. And even though we used to have a generation of lag between the people who were in the old profession and the ones who came in the new profession, you still had your entire lifespan to work in your old job. Like the buggy whip salesman didn't go out of business overnight, right? It was basically a generation before everybody had cars. So they still were able to live out their careers. Their children just weren't going into the buggy whip, salesman occupation, right? So we don't have that anymore. Time and technology pass quicker, right? Technically, I guess time doesn't pass quicker, but it seems like it does. And the technology moves very, very fast. And everybody faces obsolescence. And this is something that I have a hard time getting people right now who are in blockchain to understand, that all of us, the cutting edge knowledge that we have, is going to be obsolete very soon. And it's on us to update our skill set constantly. Otherwise, within a decade or so, we're going to have completely obsolete information. The information of the people who started or who were in between 2008 and 2012 is not as functional, right? It doesn't really talk about operations or anything like that. Modern day, or current blockchain is different from it at its inception, right? So one of the things is that blockchain just presents another opportunity. And what do I think that's going to happen with education is the people that we can use or get to adapt to the new jobs, the new roles that exist in blockchain, they have a chance to change their family fortune, right? This is like, I wasn't able to take part in the, in the web. I was in school when the internet boom happened. And at that point, the people who were in it didn't have necessarily the proper paper, right? Which is what you require as technology matures, or as any industry matures. People want people who have specialized in a particular thing. But before that, it's like, if you're willing to learn it, you can sort of do it, you're in. And those are the people who had enormous changes in their fortune. We have a lot of people in Silicon Valley who come from families whose parents were like farmers or food brokers or things like that, who were not wealthy, who did not have all of the opportunity and privilege that now the people who were able to take advantage of that opportunity did. And so their children have an entirely different world in front of them. I do not doubt that going to an Ivy League school and an Ivy League graduate school opens tremendous doors. But the truth is that you are going to be the second generation if that is your role, right? For the most part, to get into that level, that world, you already had a first successful generation, and you are the progeny of that generation. So what I want to do here, and what I think blockchain has a real opportunity to do, is to help an entire group of people that have never been able to benefit from technology gain all of that access, and their children will have the better life, right? So it's not that this particular thing is going to negate the need of education, or even, I think, change it entirely. I think what it is it will provide opportunities for people whose families didn't historically come from places and positions where they could take advantage of education. So using blockchain, like our children will be able to have a completely different set of options than we did. And that is what I think is amazing about it.
Now, it's so funny when you spoke about the concept of generational wealth. Suddenly, I had like a light bulb moment, which is we hear a lot of people, and some people are less savory, talking about how their NFT project is going to bring generational wealth, and it's clear that they're overpromising. And then suddenly, when you spoke about it, it hit me that what generational wealth means is the ability to move between generations or from generation to generation. It doesn't mean hit the jackpot. It doesn't mean retire. Right. What it means is the ability to create a better life for your children and their children and their children, and create new jobs and new opportunity. Generational wealth, we need to make sure that we don't, I think, downplay the word generational and instead fixate on the word wealth. And that was my realization in listening to you.
Yeah, I think that what people think is they're going to get a giant ball of money. Yeah. And that money is going to be so much that somehow it will magically last for many, many generations. If you ask any NBA player how long their wealth lasted after they stopped playing, they will tell you not long. About 85% of NBA players go bankrupt within 5 years of stopping play. Wow. That is not unique to NBA players, right? That's in every sport. That's a lot of entertainers, people who make a lot of music or a lot of money making music or things like that. That happens everywhere because managing money is very different from making money. And it doesn't magically grow, right? It is not about a jackpot or windfall, or we'd have generations of lottery winner children who are now, of various shades of wealth. That's not what happens. Generational wealth, the concept is about socioeconomic mobility, the ability to move your family from one level of socioeconomic stability to another. And that requires a few economic, premises that may or may not be true at any given time. But really what it is the ability to say, if I want to make my family's life better, I will do this. Now, here's the thing about generational wealth that immigrants for sure know. The trick with generational wealth is the person who makes it never enjoys it. It's always the next generation. If you can't see that your work is going to benefit your children, and that's enough for you, you can't make generational wealth. What you will make is the wealth that you enjoy in your lifetime will probably be gone before your lifetime ends, but is not inheritable. In order for you to have inheritable money, and you will hear this from if you read any book about any like land baron or scion or whatever, the one thing is that they work and work and work and work and work and produce and produce and produce. And the children, some of them will work, some of them will not, but they all get the benefit. But that person that generates that wealth generally does not get the fruits of it. That means you are working to make money and then to turn that money into more money through financial tools, which is another part of blockchain that we can talk about. But that's what DeFi is supposed to be, not what it is right now is a speculative mess. But when you're the person that's making the wealth, it's an unending job. And it is a job, but it is a job that everyone can do, provided they have the opportunity to get money, right? They have access to capital, and they have the ability to turn it into something else. And that requires a level of education that most people don't have. We don't teach it in school or anything like that. So there's a gap in information of what do I do when I have some money? What do I do with it? And this is right now where I find people go wrong. And you couldn't really see that more clearly than when people got the stimulus checks, which is what made crypto and blockchain boom into the public knowledge. It was this idea that I have something and I have to turn it into something else. And the criticism that most people have of the people who were not wealthy, certainly not accredited, going into these investments, they took on risk, they didn't understand it. How are they supposed to understand it? Where is the knowledge bank center that is reliable and trustworthy, where they can say, okay, now I understand investment tools. Now I understand how to analyze risk. Now I understand my own risk profile and the resources that I actually have available versus the ones that I'm temporarily holding. People are using money that they're temporarily holding. You're holding money that's due in rent, for example. That's not your money. You're holding it like a valet. Valet money is never money you can invest, but I see people making this mistake. And honestly, a lot of it is that they just don't know, because again, where are they supposed to learn it, right? If you have Uncle Joe working at Citi, at the trading desk, and you want to learn about financial statements, and your Uncle Joe says, hey, come, I'll show you the last $10 million deals that we did, and we'll work through the financial statements together. Great. You get a great education that way. But most of us are not like that, right? Most of us are like, well, your parents' retirement plan is I'm going to work until I die and hope I die soon after retirement because there's no money. Or I don't know what to do to invest, but I can tell you where to get food if the check runs out by the end of the month. Like, that's the kind of knowledge and education they have, which is not to say it's useless, but it is not helpful in building funds. It is the economy of the poor is an expense-based economy. The economy of the wealthy is a savings-based economy. And the differences in outcome for both of them are enormously, like, the difference is it can't even be measured. I mean, I guess it could be measured in cash, right? But it's an enormous difference. And that ability to think about what you want to study or how you can improve the world, that requires a level of financial and mental freedom that doesn't exist for most people. So, I have a lot that I could say on this. I don't want to take this over in a discussion of, the economics of the wealthy versus
I
poor.
only have one thing to say to you, which is you get the air horn. Time of first air horn, 32 minutes. Look, the education, all the words, the huffery and puffery that I used to build you up at the beginning was justified because of the wisdom and those pearls that just came out of your mouth. And so I would like to put you on the spot and ask you, it would be my honor and a privilege if you would join us on this journey and be an Alpha Talk speaker and join the Alpha Collective. Would you give me that honor and join this little journey?
I feel like a ring of some sort should be involved, but barring that, of course I'll help you. I'm happy to. I'm always happy to add more information, education.
No, it's amazing. And thank you. And there were a few things I took away. In fact, I need to go back and rewatch that. But number one, it is so important to have continuous streams of income or revenue. Number two, it's important to, especially in this changing world, to adopt or embrace or discover new streams of revenue as well. The idea of a pipeline or water flowing, going back to what you were saying about NBA players, it's important to have a plan in place for what comes afterwards and what comes next. And I really love that analogy in terms of thinking about building something that can not only live on after we are gone, but also something we can pass down. But I want to just ask you a question. This is so weird. I was on a podcast where I was being interviewed just before this one, and I'm gonna quote a person who was clearly a skeptic. Said, "Why would I buy crypto? Why would I buy crypto?" And I realized, and I'm just being very honest, I don't know the answer. Not an intelligent one. I mean, I would say decentralized and El Salvador and Bitcoin and I would, as someone who's a maxi here, I would spew and stream. And then I thought to myself, I don't know that I know the answer. I don't know that I know an intelligent enough answer to not have to try and basically bullshit my way through. And then I thought, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to do something I've never done before on the show, which is I'm going to ask you to answer the question and And in doing so, tell you with full disclosure that I'm going to take that video clip, which I do anyway, but I'm literally asking a question knowing in full well that this answer is something that can benefit other people as well. Alexandra, why would I buy crypto? Why would anyone buy crypto? What is the benefit and the value of crypto versus fiat?
So these are not actually, in my opinion, the right questions to ask, right? Why would I, buy fiat, or why would I exchange my work for fiat? Well, not all fiats are the same, right? Like trading work for dollars is not the same as trading work for Thai bahts or something like that, right? They're all different. That's the same thing in crypto. In blockchain is a full technology. We first talk about this. Blockchain does 3 things well, and everything else it's just expensive and slow at. So first, you want to make sure that you're working with a blockchain that's actually appropriately placed in this. And I'll go back to that in a minute of what that is. But you want to make sure you're working in a blockchain that is appropriately placed. Now, when you talk about the crypto, this is a mistake, basically, that happened from early days where a VC came in and saw developers trading tokens with one another in order to get their blockchains to work, and said, hey, you can put money in that, and it's not the same as it's not equity, so it's not a security. All of that was wrong. And we've been fighting that for years now, because it is a security, right? There's nothing wrong with it being a security. It just has to be a compliant security. So the first thing was this idea that somehow crypto is unique and special and doesn't require regulation. Well, it's fully regulated. And what is it particularly? It is a transactional token. That is the heart of what most crypto is. Crypto is necessary for blockchains to function. Their blockchains are basically a toll road, right? And the crypto is meant to function as the toll that you pay in order to travel on the road. The longer you travel, the more you pay. The heavier if you have a heavy truck, you pay more than a light car. And if there's a long line of people, then you get a surge pricing, right? You pay more because more people are on the road. Even if the price is very cheap versus another one, you're still paying something. So, and that's, for the upkeep, for the use, for maintaining that project. So what is a crypto token at its heart? It is the means to transact business on a blockchain. That's it. That's what it is. It's not inherently a currency. It's not inherently a security. It's made that way by people. So first is, why would you even buy crypto? Because you want to use the blockchain. That's the reason you buy it. You want to have ETH in your wallet if you want to actually do something on ETH, buy something off of it, right? What would you do? Like, you need to have the native coin. Why would I ever get Swiss francs? Well, I'm in Switzerland and I want to buy awesome chocolate, right? I need some Swiss francs. That's inherently what crypto is. Why would you buy it? It is to conduct business. Now, there are people who buy it because they are looking for something like an increase in value. That may happen. It may not happen. But when you're buying it, you have to know first, are you buying it for a chain that is likely to stay in business? Does it have what it takes to be useful? Is there demand for it? These are not strange questions. It's basically every platform has this question. So first, why would you buy it? Because you want to use a platform that's fundamentally functional and valuable for people. Now, why would I have it instead of fiat? Well, there is an area of stable coins, which are possible becoming a currency aside from fiat. Why would we ever want an alternative to fiat? Primarily because fiat's a monopoly, and it is one of the main ways that governments control people. And I don't mean that in a twirly mustache kind of way, but really when you look at it, what is government? Government is controlling populations. That's their job, right? To make sure that there's order in the country, among the citizenry in some way. And they have 2 tools, right? One is access to resources. And we see that most, right? Access to resources is something like the federal government saying, you need to build this highway. We'll give you the money for the highway if you raise your drinking age to 21. And if the state says no, you pay for your own highway. If the state says yes, you get a free highway, right? So they force compliance by access to resources. It's the same way, they'll withhold money if you're not doing whatever it is that you're supposed to do, garnishing wages, things like that. And they'll give you money if you're doing something that, is encouraged in the system. So there's the access to resources is more or less controlled depending on the type of economy that you're living in. But it's not like, the US doesn't do that and like, Angola does. All countries do it on some level. That's the carrot. The stick is police power. If you don't have enough control over resources, you have to have a police power, essentially, that maintains order, right? So instead of promoting good behavior, which is what access to resources does, you punish bad behavior, which is what the police power does. Now, the problem that we have right now is that we are encouraging people to adopt some other alternative to their local fiat, but we're not considering what the consequences are. If it's done without the government support, the biggest problem is we are encouraging governments to use only their police power, and we are creating autocratic authoritarian states. That is a real problem. That is something where this one industry has to look forward in time more than any other industry in the history of man, even more than typical economics. They have to look forward in time. A short period, we have to look like a decade or more in time, and we have to consider what are the outcomes of these particular things, right? Now, I personally believe that an alternative to fiat is a great idea because in the US, we have 2 doors to fiat, right? How do you get capital? You get it from either being an appropriate cog in the wheel of some employer, right? Where you're a good employee in exchange for your labor, you get money. Or you are somehow appealing to a bank and you can get financing that way. Now, most people don't fit into the employee role because first, there are fewer and fewer of them all the time, simply because of things like automation, machine learning, things like that. And there are a lot of people that simply don't fit into that mold. The other part is banks are racist. They have a lot of preferential items. They care about where you live, what your education was, what your parents' education was, your ethnicity. They care about a lot of things, most of which are not under your control, and they give you preferential treatment if you are more or less in favor of what they view as somebody who is worthy of capital. If those are the only 2 avenues that I can get fiat, I need capital to live. If I can't get it from there, I need to find another avenue. And that is why I think there should always be competition with fiat, because we have the right to access to capital. Everybody has the right to access to capital. If you are willing to put work into a society, you have the right to access to capital. And if the people who are using fiat don't want to offer that to you, then the people who are using crypto or using a stable coin or some other alternative currency will give you access to that. You have to have a choice. What is the alternative? People who are using fiat and there's no alternative and you can't get access to the fiat, what? They're like, okay, good luck with that. I hope you enjoy sleeping on the street. That's not an option. So I believe very strongly in options to fiat, partly because fiat fails. Every single currency in the history of time has failed. So fiat fails. Having a safe haven is a way to make sure that the value that's attained by people in any population can be captured. And then the other thing is it's a way for people to gain value and capital in an economy that doesn't have the limitations of who you are as much as the fiat world does. Now, why would you invest in crypto? Generally speaking, if it's a security, right, it's the same reasons that you would invest in any security. You understand the risks and the benefits of that particular, form of security. You have the available resources and timeline that match your risk profile matches, and it seems like a good investment that will go up over time. You take that risk. That's why the same reason you'd invest in any security. But that's not the sole role of crypto. Right? It's a much broader thing, and you have to consider it in whatever context you're talking about buying it. We're not talking about, like all crypto is the same. Any way that we talk about all fiat is the same. It's not. It's different. So when you say, why would I buy this? You say, I would buy this because it meets my goals at any particular time.
Now the applause comes out for you as well. I'm
the queen of the sound effects.
There are no sound effects. There's a studio behind me. So part of the answer is you wouldn't buy crypto if your sole reason, or it shouldn't be necessarily to be trading, especially based on the fact that it is volatile and maybe even more volatile right now. And if that is the reason why you're buying, as opposed to transact on the blockchain, then maybe you shouldn't. And I love the way that you framed it off the bat, which is actually, that's not the right question. And by the way, if you want an answer, maybe the answer is you shouldn't. If ultimately you're trying to buy it as a security and compete with other securities. By the way, and I'm sure you would agree, if you bought Carvana, and if you bought Meta, and if you bought a whole bunch of other stocks post Super Bowl, you lost a lot of money as well. So apples to apples,
exactly,
is it the same
has
thing?
nothing. Risk is risk. You have to be able to understand it and understand your own risk, which incidentally, you can cut this if you want. Excuse me, if you want, it's a minor plug, but I actually do go through all of this in terms of understanding finance and risk. I have 10 episodes of finance from my podcast. That's part of my community. If you go to cryptimmersion.io and become a member, you have access to 400 hours of just information, and there are 10 episodes. So altogether, it's about 40 hours. It's easy to listen to, I think, right? But it's literally understanding your own risk profile, how to identify risk, what money you can use, how do you identify how much you can invest, and what you should do with the money that you invest, how to understand the risk of a particular project. So thank you very much. So it's essentially, we go through and learn how to read financial statements and learn what ratios are important for stocks versus bonds versus crypto, right? And you can see in different areas what works and what doesn't. Most investors in Web 2 are moving into Web 3, and they're bringing their Web 2 understanding of the world, and they're screwing up Web 3. So that's a whole other topic. But my hair looks really good there, actually. But
I'm subscribing if I wasn't already.
Oh yeah, this is for the newsletter. My newsletters are not actually just like, rehashing the news. It's basically taking something that happened and saying, what does this mean to you? Because that's really what's important, right? You can hear all sorts of news, but if you can't relate that or contextualize it to what it means to you, then it's not useful, right? So you need to understand when I hear this news, I hear it this way, and this is what I know is going to happen as a result. And then I act on those results. And if you hear it enough, then you'll start to understand exactly how to make these analytic roles. Like, my goal is not to hide the process. I tell you the entire process of what I'm thinking of, and this is what you get. I'm also on Twitter more now than Clubhouse, but you can I didn't do anything with my hair.
You can plug away. Please subscribe to Crypto Immersion. And you know what? I always try and find a quote for my guests. This is the quote that I found for you. If you don't believe it or don't get it, I don't have the time to try to convince you. Sorry. And that comes from Satoshi Nakamoto. And as far as I'm concerned, Alexandra, you might be Satoshi Nakamoto's in fact, you're definitely not Satoshi. You know why? Because you do have the time to try and convince, and you are doing it. Exactly. So
explain. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, thank you for helping and trying to help people. This is how I discovered you on Clubhouse and through your various assets. And again, I'm so happy that you're going to join us and in Alpha Collective. I want to give you more plugs in a moment, but I want you to respond to a couple of the things that I said in the soliloquy. Number one is crypto is the spam of Web3. And number two, you don't need crypto. Web3 does not need crypto, that you can actually deliver against the promise of Web3, what I call community capitalism, the promise of shared values, shared ownership, and shared reward. You don't necessarily need crypto. I want to give you an opportunity to say wrong and wrong, or right with caveats, or etc. So number one, crypto is the spam of Web3.
I mean, crypto really is, do you know how your TV gets signals, like the signals are sent and then they're received and they light up particular photons on your TV, like the photons light up receptors on your TV, and that's how you get a picture. So crypto is basically those air signals. They're not positive or negative. All it is the means to transact business across a blockchain. It's like saying blockchain is bad. Blockchain's not bad. Blockchain's just a technology. I mean, would you say like lasers are bad? I mean, lasers are just another technology. They're just a technology. They're
just
good for
space
some
lasers.
things, not good for other things. Sorry?
Just space lasers, apparently.
Well, I mean, so is it the spam of Web3? No. What the problem is that people have turned it into something that it isn't. So there are people who are selling the tokens of a particular chain as though they were either penny stocks or more, right? They're selling them as though they had innate value. Now, first, they don't have the same rights as a security, as it like equity or something like that. As an aside, the stock doesn't have innate value either. The value of the stock, like if you want to buy Apple stock by itself has no value. It has value because Apple has value, because Apple generates revenue. Same thing with these. What we're looking at right now are a series of pump and dumps, primarily because people can't tell what generates value for any particular token. That's called tokenomics. And we all have to be literate in it if we're going to put money anywhere in the blockchain. Because even if I'm using something just as a transactional token, and that token burns more energy than it creates, or does something like it's a waste. The system itself is a waste. It's not needed for the particular transaction. Then those tokenomics don't work, and I shouldn't buy the token. Even if it has to make sense. It has to provide value. And whatever it's tied to has to provide value. And I see people all the time investing in things, but not asking the questions you would ask if you were going to buy stock. That's the issue, right? Is that people don't have enough investor knowledge in order to understand whether or not a token or a stock is a good investment for them. Now, remember, your neighbor, your mom, your best friend can all think that something is an amazing investment, and it might be for them, but it might not be for you because you have a different risk profile, a different type of tolerance for risk. You have a different, different resources. You have a different timeline. You have different goals. So that's why I never tell people what I invest in, because it doesn't matter. What I invest in works for me, but we are not the same. So what you want is, why did I invest in something? How did I know that something was a right investment for me? How did I find out what the risk profile of that investment was? And how did I determine whether or not it was appropriate over time?
And so the same would be true to, there's more. Well, this is true, right? There is more to Web3 than crypto. But to say that Web3 can exist without crypto is, again, to not understand fundamentally what the role is of crypto as this, as you said, right, as this transactional token that ultimately powers the super highway that is the blockchain.
Exactly. And so this is the idea of like, if it's spam, it's not. It's fundamental to the character of blockchain. But you don't ask, is that token good? You ask, is that chain useful? Is that chain valuable? Is it run by a team that knows what they're doing? Is it in a space that's going to grow over time? It is all the same things as an investment, but saying like, you know, that crypto is the spam of Web3 is the same as saying stock is the spam of the traditional investment world. It's clearly
it might
not.
be, by the way. No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I just think that we have a lot of people with finally some freedom to act, but no information. And all that's happening is they're proving that very restrictive regulations are right. And I don't want that, right? What do regulators do? They put down walls. They don't put down doors. And so when people, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, this is so good. And I know that we have so limited time. And I want to be able to talk about Minxie as well, because I'm enamored with Minxie. I understand Ethereum as a blockchain really well. You know, my coin was built on Ethereum. I understand most of my NFTs that I've bought, that I've sold, even Alpha Collective is built on Ethereum. What does the Bitcoin blockchain do as opposed to Solana, etc.? What does Bitcoin bring to the table?
Yay, history. I love this. Okay. The Bitcoin blockchain is one of the earliest blockchains. It wasn't actually the earliest. A bunch of things were happening at the same time. But the Bitcoin blockchain essentially transacts value from one wallet to another. A wallet is for these purposes, wallet's a lot more than that. But for these purposes, a wallet is basically like a repository. And it is essentially transmitting value from one wallet to another on request from particular wallets. So a wallet says, I want you to move this much from here to there. And then something usually transpires between that wallet that received the Bitcoin and the wallet that sent it. And a lot of that is actually off chain, right? So maybe I bought a sofa for Bitcoin, right? What the Bitcoin will see or what the blockchain will see is that I sold my Bitcoin, or I transferred it just says I transferred my Bitcoin from here to there, but it doesn't actually show that I got a sofa for it. So really what it is just a series of transactions. Now, there will usually be something that each side has to put into the blockchain, essentially a signal from both sides that this is a correct transaction, so that like an approval of the transaction, so that if you don't have it, the transaction simply doesn't close. But for the most part, it's actually, and I say this, you know, tongue in cheek, because it's not really very, it's not really simple, but it is one of the most simplistic blockchains. And in a lot of ways, that's what gains strength, right? Simpler things break less. And it is a simple thing. Now, remember, Vitalik Buterin and a bunch of the people, Gavin Wood, all of these people that originally built out Ethereum and other early chains, they actually were all part of the Bitcoin blockchain originally. And what they wanted to do, so Vitalik apparently was the one with this idea. And he said, you know what this is? This is actually just a, Turing incomplete, almost smart contract processor. Almost is what it was doing. So that he said we should do it fully. And so the idea here was, he said, instead of just shifting value one way or the other, we can also exchange promises and exchange other actions between one another. So the idea was kind of a contractual vending machine where I put money in and it triggers a series of events and I get my Coke out of it, right? So it's not just I'm trading it, you know, like I'm going to pay for Bitcoin with this. I'm not going to just pay for something with Ethereum. I'm using Ethereum
to powered by the smart contract as well. That's
what a smart contract is. Incidentally, neither smart nor a contract, but it works in computer science terms, just does not work in common vernacular or in legal terms. But we have a lot of misnomers like that, like cryptocurrency, not encrypted, not currency, but is what it is. but so essentially what Ethereum does is it's just a way more complex system that allows you not just to exchange value between each other, but you can actually, you can exchange promises, goods, things like that. It's a much more complex set of transactions that you're able to do. As long as you have a smart contract set up for it, it's essentially triggered by either a coin which comes from your wallet, or possibly an oracle, which is outside data. But
Well,
once it's triggered, what?
No, I was going to say, I think you did a brilliant job on the comparisons, especially with Ethereum. But just to kind of go back to Bitcoin, safe to say that Bitcoin, as stable and as simple as it is really a great mechanism for value exchange without promises. So when we do think about El Salvador and we think about expanding the ability to transact, fundamentally, a market is based on two things: transportation and payment. This is a really smart way to be able to transact in a way that is decentralized and not necessarily monopolistic. Would that be a fair statement to kind of paraphrase Bitcoin's value?
So right now, the issue with Bitcoin is, first, it's not a currency because it's extremely volatile. An asset and a currency are fundamentally opposed. Assets have volatility. They can go way up in value or way down in value. And currencies, by definition, stay in a narrow range of values, right? Bitcoin is not a currency. It can't be. There's nothing in there that will help with that mechanism. A fully inflationary currency or fully inflationary coin cannot be a currency any more than a fully deflationary coin can. And Bitcoin is designed to be fully deflationary, still is not a great currency. What is it good for? Micro transactions. And I don't mean by that small transactions, although you can do that. Micro transactions, in that the volatility is contained within a particular market. That is something that that is useful, right? Where you transact value, where that value can immediately be passed on and passed on and passed on, and that value is usually can usually be attributed to something that isn't necessarily like a common commodity, right? Or something where people, the demand for the person who needs it is so much stronger than the person supplying it, right? So by that, I mean, people who are transacting business like buying bread, buying diapers, buying milk in Bitcoin are fundamentally at a disadvantage because their need for that bread or diapers or milk is fundamentally stronger than the need of the person selling the bread or diapers or milk to sell it and acquire Bitcoin, right? There's an asymmetric need. When you're talking about using Bitcoin as an alternative to buy a computer, then somebody uses that and then can trade that value onto something else. They're able to absorb that volatility because fundamentally it's not the same as this core staple need, right? So in countries where Bitcoin is primarily used to buy staples, it's a terrible idea. In countries where Bitcoin is used primarily for luxury goods, it's a better idea because those are people who can handle and offset the volatility, right? So the problem that we have now, and I don't know that this is necessarily confined to like the Bitcoin or blockchain community, but we do have a tendency to use poorer economies and weaker economic constraints as basically places to have guinea pigs. And this is a problem, right? So we set up shop in a place like El Salvador or in the Central African Republic, something like that, where they have minuscule economies relative to ours. And we say, let's go try this. And the problem is the risk to the population when it doesn't work is profound. But the risk to the people who are instituting it is almost non-existent. They have more upside, right? If it works, yay, we get to sell our products or whatever. But that, I think, is unethical. For the people who want to use Bitcoin, it should be something that the population chooses, and there has to be enough of a population that is not living or not purchasing primarily staples. They have to be people who are purchasing staples, but also X% is non-staple goods. And so far, all of the populations we see are ones that are focused on staple goods. And these are people who volatility impacts their ability to feed their families, to, have safe and healthy life, things like that. That is unacceptable. And you cannot use something volatile for that, but you can use it. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and it seems, and Look, you're going to have to just come back. In fact, you have to come back because we haven't even spoken about Minxie, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to talk about, because I've already joined the creator waitlist. I don't even know what I'm joining it forward, but I was like, Alexandra is associated with Minxie. I need to be a part of Minxie. Just
it's awesome. So Minxie is an entire creator ecosystem, and that sounds really like foofy and indefinite. But this is exactly what I was speaking about before, where you can't get capital from a bank or from an employer. How are you going to get capital? Creators deserve to be able to live off of their creations, right? If they're willing to put the work into the economy, then they should be rewarded with capital, and they're not, right? So here is the whole purpose of Minxie is to create a system where creators can survive. They can pay their rent. They can do what they need to with their creations, as opposed to trying to figure out how to make creations within, whatever various part of society that they're in, like working a job and everything else. Like, this is their focus, then fine, let's make an economy around it. And so what we've done is create this, it's beautiful, this amazing platform, uncensorable. So we don't discriminate against anyone. And there's a very unique self-governance policies, so that people who are creators only govern other creators. Like, you only have the chance to vote on issues of creators within your category. So we have like cannabis and other things in there. We're totally cool with it. As long as it's legal, we're okay with it. But you cannot have your payments seized, right? That is one of the uses of blockchain. You can't have your payments seized. We work very hard to create payment rails where the whatever you sell, that money that you have, you get to keep all the time, and it has the exact value that you sold whatever your goods are for. So that was one of the things that we did, is actually create a non-volatile currency on this system, so that that currency itself is designed to have a consistent, constant value.
Well, we're out of time, but I'm definitely going to show this video, and hopefully the sound works. Let's do that.
Being an online creator is not only a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Many people around the globe are doing their own crafting for a living, but it's hard to be your own boss if your boss doesn't pay you a salary. A lot of creators have to rely on social media and content platforms where their skills are on display. And these platforms, let's say, are not always fair. Minxie can show that everything could be and should be different. Minxie provides creators and their communities with a variety of ways to grow their wealth and be discovered easier than ever before. With the help of blockchain technology, Minxie has developed an ecosystem revolving around creators and their needs. Blockchain does not require any personal user data, which allows Minxie to protect the anonymity of supporters if they wish to. Minxie is a way into the new world of digital content. It is an absence of taste-based discrimination imposed by private platforms. It is a helping hand in the crypto and NFT world. It is a platform for your content. It is a platform for you.
I mean, we have legit
Being an online creator is not only a hobby.
I just wanted to say that our drop, we're doing an NFT drop that's designed to distribute our non-volatile token. And there's benefits with the NFT, but it's primarily there to distribute this token.
I want in. I'm applying.
Yeah, you have to get, there's a wait list now. We are super packed. But sign up for the wait list for the NFT. It's amazing. More is coming. There's so much to this that we're going to actually make assets. Like, this is going to be another mode of financing, another mode of asset creation and development. So there's just so much here. I'm super excited about this. I love the team that we're working on. A lot of people who are great builders and people who are, really amazing with both the technology. I did a lot of the tokenomics and that kind of stuff. So I'm very proud of that. But for the most part, we're here to basically give, it's not about Minxie, it's about the creators. We're here to give you as many alternate streams of revenue as possible and help support you in determining your business model, how to make things work. We're going to provide the information link that you don't have. If you don't have somebody doing the work for you, then you need the information, and that's us.
Okay, Alexandra Damsker, the hardest working person in Web3. She's Chief Legal Officer at Minxie. She's a Web3 podcaster. You must have already subscribed to Crypto Immersion, to her newsletter. She's the newly appointed Alpha Talk speaker. She is a maven. She is an oracle. And if you want to follow her, she's doing a little bit less in the club, and she's doing a little bit more on the tweet. I guess the tweet is Elon, but a little bit more on Twitter. Follow her at Alex Damsker. She is not Satoshi Nakamoto. And if she was, she wouldn't tell us. And of course, what an amazing story with respect to Minxie, a new platform that helps support an entire creator economy. Alexandra, you literally, I'm going to give you my username and password so that you can come back anytime on the show. You are always welcome. And I can tell you, you have at least one new fan today. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And we will be back soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.